Hi Team Value, JJ here, welcome back. Well, today I'm going to react to a video of an extreme Tesla bear. He's a short seller and he says that Tesla's going to go to $15 and it's going to be the next Enron. I've already reacted to this on the stocks today with JJ channel, but I thought it was worth doing on the main channel here because it's quite inflammatory. Let's see what this guy's got to say and what's his thesis, what's his rationale for doing this. Let's get into it.
Tesla shares fractionally lower, just flat barely to the downside right now, after shareholders reapproved of Elon Musk's multi-billion-dollar pay package. Now the stock is down nearly 30% compared to last year. You're taking a one-year look here, and we're taking a look at the shares over that 52-week period. Our next guest has been shorting the stock since 2020 and sees more risk to the downside for the EV maker.
So he's been shorting it since 2020. He's won some and lost some because it has been sliding down since late 2021, but it was rocketing before that.
Per Lakander, who is the Clean Energy Transition CEO and Portfolio Manager, here with more. Per, great to have you on the program with us. First and foremost,
so if he's a clean energy transition investor, he's certainly not against that. It's not from that point of view.
Here, how much slippage do you think we could see?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, in my view, Tesla is the biggest stock market bubble in world history. And we have just...
It's a big call, the biggest stock market bubble in world history. You know, we've had some big bubbles in the history of the stock market, so that's a big call right there.
Seen the start of it. You see that, the models are aged, and valuation is absolutely insane. Earnings are falling off a cliff. I would say they're falling 50% this year.
The last earnings were not great. People seem to gloss over that a little bit to focus on robo-taxis and the future technology that's going to come out without actually looking completely at the earnings. I did do a video of the last earnings and it was definitely sliding. Margins are sliding, cash flow as well. So it's going to be interesting to see the next earnings, what happens there.
I have like 140 earnings for this year. I think consensus is 265. It was like 5 at the beginning of the year. So if you think of it, $1.50, how do you value that? I think given that there is no growth here, 10 times earnings is very generous. So my price target is $15. Having said that, I think this in the end is going to be a donut because once it gets...
Wow, he's saying $15, but a zero. He did mention the earnings there, how they're falling
into those levels. And there's so much going on here in terms of class action lawsuits, boards, which is paying itself enormous money, Elon, which is paying itself enormous money. So I think this is huge.
They are paying a lot of money. That was that yes vote for Elon to get his pay package. Jim Chanos, another short seller, pointed out that the pay that Elon's getting is more than the profits that Tesla's made in its history.
Hugely dangerous, and in the end, is going to prove to be the next Enron.
Lots of questions. I guess first, just starting off with some of the concerns that you listed. Those concerns have certainly not caught up to the stock price. And even taking a look at the reaction that we saw from some of Musk's comments last night, there initially was some excitement surrounding the growth, at least that he sees for Tesla over the next several years. I guess my first question to you is, what's going to change the perception here or the minds of investors? Because up until this point, we haven't seen some of those concerns that you've laid out reflected really at all in the stock price.
I would say yes and no. Let's not forget that the stock is down 60% from all-time high at the same time as the market has gone up 20-25% in the meantime.
That's a good point. The stock has been sliding. It's down a lot. The peak was over 400. I thought that was a bubble at the time, and we're seeing Nvidia now going to the heights, but Tesla's been sliding ever since. And I've done a lot of videos on Tesla tracking that over time and Nvidia lately. By the way, if you're liking this video, if you're enjoying this video, getting value out of it, I'd really appreciate it if you manage to smash that like button to help the algorithm to spread it to more people. And if you're new here, do consider subscribing to the channel as well.
So, but it's step by step. Where what will need to happen here is, of course, that the retail crowd needs to give up, because that is what's holding up this stock. Valuation makes absolutely no sense.
The retail crowd, yeah, there's a lot of retail people in Tesla, more than many stocks, and that yes vote got across the line because of that. And Elon and Tesla were even advertising to retail shareholders to get that across the line. And what will it take for them to give up? A lot of people said it's a kind of a cult. So will that ever happen?
Trades on.
Per, do you think the retail trader, though, will give up on this? And I think that's so interesting, especially surrounding Tesla and that excitement and exactly what that group of investors has been able to do around the broader story here for Tesla.
Sure.
But everyone runs for the hills when it goes down. So the stock needs to go down. Once it goes down, it's going to go down more. And I think well,
that's true. When we have seen the Tesla stock go down below 100, people did get quite freaked out. There was, talk of calls to change the board and get rid of Elon even. And I did see some people on social media, some Tesla pumpers, selling out, selling down. So I think he's right here that it could actually happen if it got too low, especially if it got, getting below 100 is one thing, but if it got down much more, it would be pretty fascinating to see what happened. Would people start to bail?
What drives it down is earnings. And I think we are very, very close to the turning point, because so far it's been a slippery slope. They've sold cars poorly, therefore they lowered the price, therefore earnings went down, and it's circulated. Now
it's true. It's sort of spiraling down a little bit. Margins have dropped, and as I said, the last earnings were not great, and Elon was on the call talking about the future technology that isn't actually there yet, and ARK has projected this massive income, massive revenue from robotaxis, which they haven't earned $1 on robotaxis yet.
Now they are very, very close to ways end here. This quarter, they have really introduced almost 0% interest rates on the cars. When Q2 results come, if you think Q1 had terrible deliveries, but actually not that bad earnings. In Q2, they have done everything to get cars out of the door, and it's gone relatively well. So deliveries are not going to be great, but they're going to be okay. But earnings, 25th of July, are going to be absolutely terrible. There is a chance that the company will be loss-making.
Wow. So yeah, that's the next earnings are going to be fascinating like that in July, which is not that far away. It could be loss-making, he said. If that's the case, it will be interesting to see what happens with the stock price. Will it fall further, or will this, robotaxi story, and it is being driven by a story and narrative, will that save it again? I don't know what's going to happen. He does seem to have a really good case here. There's a really bull case, which I did a video on the other channel, on the Stocks Today with JJ channel, with Dan Ives. He's very bullish, sees a $1 trillion valuation, within the next year. Kathy Wood sees a huge valuation over time, and this guy sees $15. So there's a huge disparity of analysis here, of projections about what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm not making a recommendation to buy or sell one way or the other. I have owned it in the past, but this is not financial advice. I need to say that this is just for general entertainment and education purposes only. You need to seek your own licensed financial advisor before you make any kind of investment. All right, let's see what else this guy's got to say. He thinks it could be a zero.
And if it's loss-making one quarter and then it's loss-making in Q3, I can guarantee you this is double digits. And then I think many fanboys will run for the hills, and then we are at my 14.
14. So if not 15, 14. Thinks it's going to go down that far, double digits, below 100, and then run down a lot more.
Earlier in the hour, we spoke to Dan Ives, Wedbush Securities analyst and managing director, actually. Here's what he had to say about the EV maker's future. And I want to get your reaction on the
And I have done a video on this on the other channel if you want to see all of Dan Ives talking about this.
But also, this is one you're going to see 3-4 million vehicles per year when you look out 4 or 5 years from now. And again, betting against Musk, it's been the wrong move. And I think this has clearly been a turbulent period, but I could see that Cinderella story starting again as we go into 2025.
You did say story. You talked about story and narratives again, starting up and, the hope of robotaxis.
Now, you are clearly saying that there is a reason to bet against Musk, but it seems like there are a lot of, at least shareholders right now, regardless of whether or not retail is the single proponent that's holding up the stock, that you believe there's reason that you should bet against Musk. As long as Musk is in the helm, does it seem like this is a company that is eventually going to get towards what you've set forth in your own target?
So what I think he's missing is what's going on in the overall EV space. I have to go a step back a bit. We came out of COVID. The auto industry was constrained. There were early buyers of EVs. You made a killing. And Tesla was almost a monopolist, and they made a killing on this.
Mm-hmm. Then they did do well in that period. They definitely seemed like they had a moat with high margins, but they have been coming down with competition, not necessarily legacy competition, but with BYD and Chinese companies in particular. They don't have that in the US, but definitely in China, which is a big market, and Tesla's got a factory there.
When things are very good, of course, everyone piles in. So all the conventional auto producers are piling in, and these models have started to come in 24. More of them are coming in 25. Tesla has nothing. So I'll tell you, there is a true cycle which is playing out in EVs. No one, being battery producer, auto producer, lithium miner, no one is going to make money over the next couple of years. And then Tesla has gone from being the leader to be the laggard. So, you can't have a stock being at 500 billion market cap if you make no earnings. And that's not been the case in the past. So
that's a good point. 500 billion is a big market cap, even compared to other automakers. I mean, it's a technology company. They do have other strings to their bow, but the vast majority of the revenue so far is from autos. And there's this story, Dan and I was talking about the narrative, the Cinderella story. But is that going to continue? He's saying it won't, because they're losing it in the auto. And so that could be a real problem.
Extremely convinced. And, just listen to what GM, Stellantis, Mercedes, whatever are saying on EVs. They don't make any money, and it's going to get way worse.
Going to get way worse before it gets better, he says there. Those other companies, not really so competitive so far. It really is, as I said, the Chinese companies and other companies that are more EV focused, US companies. And I think Tesla's shareholders see this, that the US car companies aren't doing so well against Tesla, but it is a global market. So what do you think? Do you think this guy has a case? Do you think it could happen? He is a short seller, so he's got a vested interest, but he has a clean energy transition fund. So, he's not against it. He's not like it for legacy auto at all, really. So let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think he might have a case that Tesla might slide if the next earnings come in really badly and the new projected technology, that innovation that won't save it yet? And I do talk about more about this on my Patreon, the Art of Value Patreon, if you want to join us over there. And thanks to everybody for watching or listening to this. I'm going to put links on the screen here to previous videos about Tesla that I've made before if you want to go and see those. Thanks to everybody for watching or listening, and I'll see you in the next one.